Welcome back. Micheal Oluwagbemi is joining me right now. He's the executive partner at Loftylnc Allied Partners Limited. Micheal, good to see you. Quite a while too.
It's a pleasure.
Where have you guys been? Everybody's making money attending to their businesses. The same way I'm here attending to my business too. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now let's get started. I know you listened to Femi earlier on, and if we can actually take it from there, because
Absolutely.
we're seeing that we're seeing opportunities now around the digital space.
Absolutely.
A lot of tech companies getting money, getting funding, even from the guys abroad, in tunes and tunes of dollars. I've spoken to a few of them here on the program. Can you speak to me about some of those opportunities that are really inherent, not just even in the tech space, but in other
areas?
Yes, in other areas.
Absolutely. Thank you very much and for the opportunity once again, and Happy New Year.
Yes, we've not seen you in a while.
I've not seen you in a year.
I think since the pandemic,
COVID,
we spoke.
Yes.
Thank God.
And part of the reason why we're where we are today when it comes to innovative businesses or technology startups, as the case may be, or digital businesses generally, is the pandemic. I think that the pandemic accelerated the rate of digitization in Africa. People were more comfortable, even my own grand aunties and grand uncles in their 80s and 90s now started to do Zoom. Businesses started to move online faster. People were more comfortable paying with cards and using digital platforms. So as a result of that, a lot of businesses also saw that the only way they could serve their customers, even physical restaurants started to do delivery. So again, this created a shift in the economy. And as a result of that, there's an increased demand. And when there's demand, Nigerians are entrepreneurs. We naturally start responding to them. And the truth also was that a lot of these businesses already existed before. They just never had traction. And then the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the traction that they saw. And as a result of that, investors have responded. In 2020, the overall funds that were raised by innovative startups in Africa was about $1.7 billion. Last year, it's about $6.2 billion. This year already, it's almost $4 billion. And we are not yet in the middle of the year. In fact, it took 17 weeks to get to $3 billion funding this year. Last year, it took 32 weeks. And the year before that, they didn't even get to $3 billion. So it's showing you that funding also is now responding to funding these startups. But again, I see that that's just a beginning. The other part of this also is the infrastructure that will also, of digitization, that is going to be in place. The 5G licenses, I think 2 of them actually been paid for now, and there will be a rollout. That is going to spur a whole new revolution of technology devices, IoT devices, and different level of digitization in the economy. Aside from, because we're a country of over 200 million people, we're the biggest economy in Africa. We're the largest economy by far, more than 50% of West Africa's economy. Nigeria is going to be at the forefront of that. Most of the 6 unicorns that have been produced in Africa last year, 4 of them were Nigerian companies. So there's no doubt that Nigerians are going to lead the vanguard of that. And the honest truth also is that Nigerians are way more entrepreneurial than the rest of Africa. It's just the nature of Nigerians. I mean, we do business everywhere we are. We're business people, we're trade people. So I think Nigerians are going to have an opportunity to participate in this new digital economy. But the opportunities beyond digital, and that I think is also an interesting part of this conversation, because aside from just us using this digital platform, usually that's the first phase of innovation, at least from other trends we've seen across the world. Fintech is going to lead, then you're going to have a few of other things, including edutech and health tech and all of that come after. The opportunity in Nigeria is our ability to even innovate, as businesses to innovate in things that Nigerians need in their everyday life. I call it the basics of life, especially around things like agriculture. Food security is going to become more important. The war in Ukraine and Russia has raised alarm now across the continent, and people realizing that we depend too much on imports for our food. Nigeria is a little bit down the road on that, but we need our scientists to also do a whole lot more when it comes to developing resilient crops or resilient seeds to ensure that Nigerians can be able to grow their own food, regardless of drought or rainfall patterns. We are also going to see innovation in the area of biopharmaceuticals. I mean, COVID-19 created an opportunity for a few pharmaceutical companies to come up with vaccines and different kind of responses, treatment and curative treatments. Nigerians, we have to pay more attention to that, because when you have 220 million people, or over 200 million people, they want to live longer, they want to have a better life, and then you must have responses that are unique and local to you. And so these are the opportunities I see going forward in the future.
What are the things that an innovator or an inventor of an idea or a refiner of an idea that is already existing, what are the things that the person needs to put in place right now in terms of formation and funding of business? Because we see a lot of Nigerians forming their businesses. One of the challenges is access to capital, access to financing, access to funding. I know you've done quite a lot in that. And I think your company raised...
Yeah, we were the second highest investor in Africa last year.
Yes, you know, about $10 million.
Yeah, we actually closed at $14 million.
$14 million.
Yes, we're about to announce a new fund in a couple of months.
That's huge. So you should be listening to what Micheal is saying. You know, so how the formation and the funding process? What are the things?
Yeah. So first thing first, I have to say that the innovation ecosystem is built on our education system. I think I said this on the pandemic program when I came here, and I said it's so important that as a country we need to pay more attention, especially as our local governments because local governments are in charge of our primary school education. And we cannot just depend on elite education, which goes through our private schools, but also our public schools that have to be strengthened so that people can innovate. If you want to be an innovator, or you want your child to be an innovator, if you're watching this program, first thing first to pay attention to their education. A great education is what creates a great mind. And a great mind is one that actually explores ideas that are beyond the comfort of what they're already used to. It tries to solve problems, a problem-solving mind. That's one. The second thing is that at the point of formation, entrepreneurs take risk. So we must also, in the same like manner, also begin to develop a risk-taking culture. The entrepreneurs we fund are the entrepreneurs that have taken a risk either on themselves, their career, or their idea. Right? It's comfortable to leave university and say, okay, I want to work in a bank, or I want to just work in a large company, or work for government. But entrepreneurs do take a lot of risk. And so creating that risk culture is very, very critical if we want to build an innovation enterprise. Now, in terms of actually the formation of the company, I think we've gotten some new tools. For example, the revised CAMA law actually introduced some new opportunities for entrepreneurs. Before, they usually used to have a partnership business name. Now you can have a limited liability partnership. For example, that's great for entrepreneurs in the agriculture and infrastructure sectors, because those sectors are usually top-heavy in terms of capital investment, and you need to have partnership. But you need to make sure your partners are limited liability. Those are new tools that are available under the law. We have also created, I think in the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen all these MSMEs, one-stop shop, under the enabling clinics. So those are good opportunities for entrepreneurs to go and access these facilities to be able to ensure their businesses are quickly registered. Typically, to be able to access funding in Nigeria, you need to not just have the Nigerian company, you also probably need to also register an international company, because a lot of your funding are going to come from international entities. So
register an international company while you're in Nigeria?
Yes, so you have both. So what you typically do is that you have a Nigerian entity registered, and that Nigerian entity is going to be 100% owned by the international entity. It's the international entity that actually gives investment shares away to investors. So because again, we have not accelerated our reforms and jurisprudence enough for investors to be comfortable. We don't have a track record. Maybe we have 2 to 3 years now of doing ease of doing business and all of those stuff. Investors are saying, well, let's see what Nigeria has to offer. But in the meantime, most of our companies that get funding internationally are usually registered in Delaware, Mauritius, Netherlands, or something of that nature. But they are registered as a parent company, then they own the Nigerian entity that actually does the operation. So you might need to register both, where the international company is going to own the local company. It's in terms of actual reality, it doesn't really affect much, because the operational company in Nigeria, we still have to pay its taxes, we still have to employ, and all of that stuff. That's fine.
How about the implications of having a business over there?
Yeah, generally speaking, because of the digital world, there's a whole industry around this that actually takes care of things like legal, accounting, compliance, right? So you have to pay but then as an entrepreneur, especially on the innovative side, you want to think about this, because the reality is that the world we live in today, capital is fungible. Capital moves around to where it is well treated. So you want to structure yourself so that you can be able to receive that capital. You also want to make sure that you have protected your IP, because again, under our own laws here, we don't have a very strong intellectual property protection. So typically the IP will be held by the international company, while the local company will actually have the operational day-to-day. So these are one of those few things that we educate our innovators about. Of course, some other things are, okay, what do you raise? You make sure you raise the right capital, right? It's not every capital that is meant for you. Like I talked about the infrastructure or the agriculture company. These are top-heavy entities. So the kind of money they raise is different from a company that is doing digital maybe needs to raise $25,000, and they can actually see traction.
Okay.
So